Good evening. I'm Robert Green. It's my pleasure to be the introduction person for the Economics Committee. As I said, I'm Robert Green. In our committee is Paul Asleth, Anna Hatton, Scott Mathis, Patricia O'Neill, Cynthia Schumann, who could not be here tonight,